Hey guys, it's me again. You know, today, you already know, I'm here for 15 minutes. I'm pretty sure we left off at, let me see, yeah, like the end of chapter 5. So, I'm gonna set my timer. I gotta be a little quiet because everybody's asleep, but I'm about to set my timer for 15 minutes and we're gonna get started. Okay, 15 minutes on the clock. If we want to see the natural state of anything, one of the best ways is to look at nature in its state in its infancy. For example, let's look at the nature state of a baby. What is a baby's natural state and default state? Assuming the baby wasn't abused and neglected or any physical issues. Are babies naturally stressed, anxious, fearful, and self-conscious? Or are they naturally in a state of bliss, happiness, and love? Our natural state of being is joy, love, and peace. Therefore, any thinking we do will only take us away from those natural states of being. Which is why whenever we feel highly stressed, we have a lot of thinking going on. The strength of a negative emotion we feel is directly proportional to how much thinking we are doing at the moment. On the other hand, the intensity of the positive emotion we feel is inversely proportional to the amount of thinking we are doing at the moment. In other words, the less thinking we have going on, the stronger the positive emotion we feel in the present. To see the truth in this, we recall a few other memories when you're highly stressed and anxious, and see how much thinking was going on then. Take about 1 to 2 minutes to do this. Then recall a few memories where you were at your happiest or felt the most joy and love, and see how much thinking you had going on at that moment, at that time. Take another 1 to 2 minutes to do this before moving on to really experience and internalize the truth of what you see. My mentor taught me an analogy that helped crystallize this concept. Imagine our mind as a speedometer, like in a car, but instead of miles per hour, and just thoughts per minute. The more thinking we have going on, the higher the thoughtometer goes. And if we have enough thinking going on, it'll go into the red zone. This is why we feel incredibly stressed, burned out, frustrated, and angry. It's not the concept of our thinking that causes us stress, but that we are thinking, period. The amount of thinking we have going on is directly correlated to the magnitude of stress and negative emotions we are experiencing at any given moment. When you're experiencing a lot of frustration, stress, anxiety, or any negative emotions, know that it is because you're thinking. Know that it is because you're thinking. The intensity of those emotions is directly correlated to how much thinking is going on. Therefore, that's not what we're thinking about. It's causing us suffering, but it's not what we're thinking about. It's causing us suffering, but that we were thinking about. To summarize, we do not have to try to think positively to experience love, joy, bliss, and any positive emotions we want because it's our natural state to feel those emotions. The only times we don't naturally feel those emotions is when we begin to think about thoughts we're having, thus blocking their direct connection to infinite intelligence, and we feel stressed, anxious, depressed, and fearful. It is not about the content of our thinking, but that we're thinking, which is the root cause of our suffering. The intensity of the negative emotions is directly. Sorry about that, guys. My storage is full. I had to delete some stuff. But where was I left at? Oh, the intensity of negative emotions. Oh, wait, let me pause the timer. The intensity of the negative emotions is directly correlated to the amount of thinking we have going on in the present. The less thinking we have, the more space we create for positive emotions to naturally surface. Chapter 6. How the human experience is created. There are 3 principles. At its fundamental level, the human experience is created by these 3 principles. universal mind, consciousness, and thought. These three principles work together to allow us to experience everything we do in life. If one of the three is missing, we won't be able to experience anything. Sydney Banks first discovered these principles, and now I have the humbling privilege of sharing them with you. Understanding these three principles enables us to know how we can all elevate ourselves from our suffering, but also allows us to create from source. Universal mind. Universal mind is the intelligence behind all living things. It is the life source and energy that is in all things. It is how an acorn knows how to grow into a tree, how the planets know how to stay in orbit, and how our bodies know how to heal itself when we get cut. It's how our bodies know how to self-regulate and keep us alive without us having to manually do everything, like breathing and beating our hearts. The intelligence that knows how to do all this and is in everything is called a universal mind. Many call it God, infinite intelligence, the quantum field, source, and other names. This is where thoughts come from and everything else in the universe. All these are connected by universal mind. There is no separation between anything. And anytime there seems to be separation between things, it is merely an illusion of our thinking. When we are all connected to the universal mind, we feel whole, fulfilled, filled with love and joy, peace, and inspiration. And it's only when we begin thinking, believing the illusion or ego, that we block this flow of universal mind and begin to feel separated, frustrated, lonely, angry, resentful, sad, depressed, and fearful. Universal consciousness is the collective, universal consciousness. Universal consciousness is the collective consciousness of all things. It is what allows us to be aware that we exist and aware of our thoughts. Without universal consciousness, we wouldn't be able to experience anything. Our five senses would be useless because there's nothing to be aware of. Sorry, guys. This is what brings things to life and makes them perceivable to us. Universal thought. Universal thought is the raw material of the universe from which we can create from. It's the object we can perceive through consciousness. Without thought, we would have nothing to be aware of. Thought is like a DVD that contains all the information for us to watch the movie on the TV. The TV and DVD player are like consciousness. They allow us to have a mechanism to bring the information on the DVD to life so we can watch and experience the movie. The electricity needed to power the DVD player and TV is like universal mind in the sense that it is invincible energy / force that connects and powers all things. It is a source from which everything can work and function. Chapter 7. If thinking is the root cause of suffering, how do we stop thinking? A tough Bernie Sanders Heaven and Hell is Zen parable. A tough Barney samurai once approached a Zen master deep in meditation, immediate, impatient, and discourteous. The samurai demanded in his husky voice, so accustomed to forcefully yelling, "Tell me the nature of heaven and hell." The Zen master opened his eyes, looked at the samurai in the face, and replied with a certain scorn, "Why should I answer to a shabby, disgusting, despondent slob like you? A worm like you? Do you think I should tell you anything? I can't stand you. Get out of my sight, I have no time for your silly questions." The samurai could not bear these insults. Consumed by rage, he drew his sword and raised it to sever the master's head at once. Looking straight into the samurai's eyes, the Zen master declared death's hell. The samurai froze. He immediately understood that anger had him in its grips. His mind had created its own hell, one filled with resentment, hatred, self-defense, and fury. He realized that he was so deep in torment that he was ready to kill somebody. The samurai's eyes filled with tears, setting his sword aside, but he has put his palms together, subsequently bowed in gratitude for this insight. The Zen master gently acknowledged with a delicate smile, "And that's heaven." It's not possible to entirely stop thinking, but we can reduce the time we spend thinking so that it gets smaller and smaller each day that passes. Eventually, we can get to the point where we spend most of our day not caught up in our thinking and live in a blissful state most of the time. When we say that we want to stop thinking, many people assume that we are trying to stop all thoughts in general. Excuse me. This isn't what we're trying to do. This isn't what we're trying to do. Now that you know the difference between thoughts and thinking, we are working on allowing thoughts to come and flow through to us while we minimize the thinking about those thoughts that emerge. The most interesting and almost paradoxical paradoxical thing about stopping our thinking is that we don't have to do anything to minimize it other than be aware of it. By us becoming aware that we are thinking, and that is the root cause of all suffering, it automatically makes us conscious to the fact that we become detached to it, allowing it to settle and pass. This takes almost no effort and is done through presence in a moment. Here's an analogy from one of my mentors that illustrates the concept. Imagine I give you a bowl of cloudy, dirty, murky water. If I asked you how would you make the water clear, how would you do it? It takes 15 seconds to see what answers you come up with before moving on. Most people say something like filtering the water, even boiling it. What most people don't realize is that if we let the bowl of dirty water sit for a period of time, we can see that the dirt begins to settle on its own in the water, and after a while the water becomes clear on its own. This is how our minds also work. If we let our thinking sit without disturbing it, trying to filter or boil it, the thinking will settle down on its own, and our minds will become free from thinking. The natural state of water is clear. Sorry. The natural state of water is clear, and the natural state of our minds is also clear if we do not disturb it. If life begins to feel unclear, disorganized, and stressful, and you're not sure what to do next, you know that's only because your thinking is stirring up the dirt, making your mind cloudy and difficult to see ahead. You can use this as an indirector to help you realize you're thinking too much. Once we become aware of the fact that we are only feeling what we're thinking, and that thinking is the root cause of our unpleasant experience, we see it for what it truly is. Then we allow it to settle by giving it space, and slowly, we will see how we begin to have a clear mind again. We can also compare thinking to quicksand. The more you fight our thinking, the more it amplifies negative emotions and worsens them. The same is true for quicksand. If we're in quicksand, the way out isn't to fight. If we panic and frantically try to fight it, it only makes things worse. By tightening the grip it has on us and pulling us under faster. The only way out is to stop struggling and allow your body's natural buoyancy to take over, to bring you back to surface easily. The only way to break free from our thinking is to let us go and trust that our natural inner wisdom will guide us back to clarity and peace like it always has. If you find yourself fluctuating between thinking and non-thinking, know that it is completely okay and quite normal. There is no way we can remain in a state of non-thinking every second of every day. If we try to make that a goal, we will cause ourselves to suffer by forcing ourselves back into thinking again. We are spiritual, infinite beings having a physical, finite spirit experience. Because of this, we are the living gateway between the human and divine. So we'll naturally isolate between the two states of feeling anxious, stressed, and joyous, less peaceful. We cannot control or prevent the oscillation between thinking and non-thinking, but we can minimize the time spent thinking and thus create more moments where we feel joyful. Where we feel joyful, peaceful, passionate, and full of love. Although not being able to control, what we begin to think can seem like we are cursed with an inevitable fate. It is not something to worry about, because we can always return to the state of non-thinking. It's just a part of the beautiful human experience. What can give us true peace is knowing that we can always have this state of pure peace, love, and fulfillment under my time bros. underneath anything that we may ever have at any given moment, the beautiful state we always want is something we can never lose, but only forget. But just because we can forget it doesn't mean it's not there. Just like when it becomes night and the sun sets, we know the sun is always there, we just can't see it. If we think when the sun sets that it may never come back, understandably, we will have a lot of anxious and fearful thoughts. But let's finish this chapter. The same is true for our state of being. We're every only one moment away from remembering that we always have the infinite wealth, clarity, love, joy, peace, and fulfillment. We will forget sometimes, but when we do remember and realize that we are caught up in our thinking, when we experience negative emotions, that alone will allow us to return home to our natural, beautiful state. All we have to do is remember it, know that it is just our thinking, and have peace knowing that the sun is not going forever and will rise again soon enough. Having that understanding will also allow us to appreciate the nighttime for its existence and role in the universe. From that, we can see how it is meant to be a part of our human experience and begin to cherish. From that, we can see how it is meant to be part of our human experience and to begin to cherish its beauty as much as the sun. I like that one, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, guys, so next time you see me, we're gonna be on chapter 8. If you're listening to this, thank you. And have a good night or day, or have a good rest of your day, whatever you're doing.